Hello friends, I am here on a mission to update you on the Niagara real estate market and how it's behaving during COVID. As we mentioned before, the Niagara Realty website has a COVID page on there which is tracking not only regionally but each city, Beamsville all the way across to St.Catharines, Niagara Niagara Falls, Thorold, all the way down to Fort Erie. Average sale price, number of sales, days in the market, all kinds of cool stuff. So I invite you to go and have a look at it. In general, what we're seeing right now is pretty interesting. April, it looks like, is going to be sort of the trough or the low point in the total number of sales for Niagara as a whole and most of the municipalities. It remains to be seen. We're not through May yet, but it looks like it'll sort of look like the Little Dipper, the Big Dipper, where you have that low point and then it bounces back. Not all the way, but there's a bit of bounce back. And that's what we're seeing both in the weekly reports on pricing and sales volume. So super compelling time. It's kind of it's fantasy camp for nerds, I can tell you that much, because from the data perspective and all the different external points that are affecting the market right now, it's pretty incredible times. We are looking at it on a daily basis, but the market's interesting. It's not a flat market, it's not a dead market. And to some extent, April was sort of put on ice, and now there's this sort of renewed energy and sort of bubbling that's going on. So below or after this, you're going to see, I'm going to go city by city. If you want to cut to the chase on our YouTube page, you'll see I'm going to date stamp everything. So if you want to see Welland, click Welland and it's going to go to Welland. If you want to see Port Colborne, if you want to see St. Catharines, whatever it is, you can go right to the city. But if you want to watch the whole thing, I love you. Do it. You'll love it. I promise. Anyway, have a look. Any questions, we invite you to reach out anytime. But otherwise, here is a quick tour of the Niagara real estate market here in mid-May 2020. All right, and go. Hey guys, I am over here at the Niagara Realty website, nagararealty.com. Across the top, you'll see this COVID button. If you click that, it'll bring you to this page. Now at the top, there's a few sort of disclaimers or background on where the reports are coming from. So then there's a Niagara Region report, and then there's one for all cities. So from Beamsville over to St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Thorold, all the way down to Fort Erie. So you'll see these April. So this is April 2020 versus April 2019. And it shows here sales, new listings, days in the market, and average sale price. The one commonality across all cities, and that's not just Niagara, that's largely in Ontario, is the number of sales are down considerably. For Niagara, that's sitting around 62% for the month of April. May's improved a little bit, but sales numbers are still down significantly. Toronto is a bit more than that. Toronto, I think, was sitting around 65% for April. And that's simply because of this next line here. The number of new listings also down for Niagara, down 50%. In general, the market sort of was put on ice in April, and it's thawing a little bit now, but with everybody being responsible and pulling back and staying home, obviously with that overall market activity just came down. Days in the market sitting at 24. And then average sale price, in general, average sale price has been hovering in the very high 4s to 500 so far for 2020 in Niagara across the board. So that brings us down to here. So you'll see Niagara Region average sale price monthly. So the May number, as you see here, is up to the 10th because we're updating this as we go through each particular month. And then the average sale price weekly, so it shows along the bottom, going back to February 29th, all the way through the most recent one is May 3rd to the 9th. So you'll see that average sale price hovering at or just under 500,000 on a weekly basis. In general, ahead of last year, except for that 1 week in April. But again, a week over week, particularly with reduced volume, you can't put a lot of stock in it, but where we look at it is the trends, the overall progress as we go. In general, the average sale price for underneath 500, ignore me. So going on to number of sales, again for the month, April, as mentioned, was down 62%. May right now is showing some bounce back, and we'll see some cities in Niagara have already had as many sales in the month of May than they did in all of April, and that's only 10, 11, 12 days into the month. So we are seeing some improvement on the total number of sales volume. So over to here, the weekly data, number of sales, you can see that here. So the second and third week of April were sort of a trough, and then we've had some bounce back on weekly sales data. So this most recent one is right around 90 sales or so for the week of May 3rd to the 9th. whereas in 2019 in that same week we had about 170. So again, that's down about 40% ballpark, but again, still some bounce back from this sort of little dipper kind of thing that we had here. The sales for the months of April and May together, because that's sort of the meat and potatoes of that spring market. Typically over the last 5 years, we'd have about 1,500 to 2,000 sales for those 2 months combined for all of Niagara, going back over the last 5 years. Right now, we're on pace for about 650, 700 sales or so. So it'll be interesting to see how the month of May closes out, but that's what we're on pace. And that's, again, in and around the 55 to 60% drop off in what we would normally see. Now, the thing that's protecting price and keeping this number here is the number of new listings is also down. We're on pace for about 1,300 new listings for the months of April and May combined. And again, typically we would have about 2,400 to 2,600 new listings for those 2 months combined. And again, a big part of that active spring market. So as a result, that's helping maintain this price point because supply is being kept controlled as well. The overall sales volume really is getting split too in price points. Underneath the 500, 550 mark and under, 550,000 and under, that market is reasonably quick in general. It's in the average days in the market in the 30 to 60 days in the market. Once you get over that 550, 600,000 to $1 million, you're into the 70 to 120 days in the market to sell. And then over the $1 million mark is really slowed right down, where it's sitting around 6 months on average to sell over the last little while. But again, as things loosen up, we'll see that improve, but that's sort of where things are shaking out right now. And then this last piece of data here, the Niagara Region, new listings monthly going back 5 years. Again, this blue line is for May, and that's only till May 10th. So if we extrapolate that out for what we would expect to see, I think we'll see somewhere in this range for the month of May. I think we'll see an improvement over April. So I would expect we'll see around the 750 listings or so. Don't quote me on that, but that's our expectation. Then you see here April, which is obviously a complete month, which was down significantly. And again, that's because of everybody staying at home. And then March was stunted because halfway through March, everything was rocking until about March 13th, 14th. And then that's when everything slowed down. So that impact was really felt in April. But you can see the March numbers should have been really, it finished out in the 900 and change. You would have expected to see it up into the 1100 range based on how we were going for the month of March. So that is Niagara. Okay, so we'll move on after that. Okay guys, so we are going to attempt to get through each city in about 30 to 45 seconds. So here goes. St. Catharines. Sales for April were down 62%. Typically in April, we would have about 200 to 250 sales for the month of. April 2020, we had 80 sales. The month of May is on pace for about 85 to 90 sales. And again, typically we would see about 240, 250 sales in May. That being said, May is loosening up significantly. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. St. Catharines detached only. So that's again, just looking at detached properties. So here's the monthly data for monthly average sale price. You'll see it's hovering around the 450 range. Year to date, average sale price is sitting around 455,000. And you'll see this sort of bouncing around week to week numbers. The median price is swinging all over the place just because of that reduced volume. So you'll see that here. But again, the weekly sales numbers, again, that second week of April was where the trough was generally felt. And now we've seen some stability where we've had about 20 to 25 down to 18 sales per week. So it'll be interesting to see as we go through the next 2 weeks how that maintains itself. And again, monthly sales for April down 62%. May, we expect May to beat April. So if it can get up to the 80 to 100 sales, we'll still be down because again, May last year had a huge month, but it'd be nice to see that decline come back to an incline. Okay, so that is St. Catharines. Niagara-on-the-Lake. So typically in the month of April, historically over the last 5 years or so, we saw about 25 to 45 sales. For the month of April this year, there was actually 9 sales. So this report says 8. There was one that was registered after. So that's a decline of 73% year over year. Similar to listings, down 46%, so not as much as other areas, but with only 8 sales, the sale price numbers you can really kind of throw out just because the volume was so low. That being said, monthly sales for April were at 8 or 9. Now, as of right now, the May sales are actually up to 10 for May 2020. So May, just less than a half of the way through the month, has already beaten April. So typically April and May, we'd have 70 to 90 sales. 2020, April and May is on pace for about 30 to 35 sales. So again, down about half. So it'll be interesting to watch. But again, with low volume cities, you really have to put an asterisk beside the sale price data. The sale price data, just because you can have an outlier in either direction swing the numbers. So that is Niagara-on-the-Lake. So again, right now the average sale price being down here with only this many sales, you have to put an asterisk beside. Okay, that is Niagara-on-the-Lake. So we look at Lincoln, Jordan, Vineland. On our system, it separates out a few different areas, but Jordan, Vineland, we sort of look at one area. Now it is a really a lower volume area of Niagara. So as you'll see, only 9 sales in April, which is down 35% year over year. It was 14 April 2019. But even going back 5 years, 9 sales for the month of April in the heart of COVID wasn't actually that terrible. There were other months of April in the last 5-6 years that only had 9 sales as well. And last time I checked, COVID didn't exist back then. So overall, not terrible. Number of new listings down 70%. Again, people really heeding the warning and advice. Average sale price of $588. Again, it's tough to put a lot of stock into it with only 9 sales. So when you look at the monthly average sale price, April sitting right around where it was the previous April, a big month of March. The average sale price year to date for Jordan and Vineland sitting at $642,000, which is pretty healthy number. But again, not a huge amount of volume on any given year. There's typically only about 120 sales for Jordan and Vineland on a particular year. And then you see total monthly sales. May has actually not had a sale yet. We're on May 14th. So that's 14 days of 0 sales for Jordan and Vineland. So that will be interesting to see what shakes out for the balance of this month. But yeah, that is Lincoln, Jordan, and Vineland. So just a little bit up the highway beside Lincoln, Jordan, Vineland, we have Beamsville. Residential sales April 2020 to 2019. So number of sales at 13 for the month of April. Coming into that, 2020 was really strong. 52 sales for January and February combined. Typically over the last 5 years, there was only about 30 to 40 sales for that same time. So April at 13 sales, typical for April, we would see 20 to 30 sales. So again, down in line with what we would expect based on other cities. The month of April and May combined is on pace for about 25 sales, and again down from 50 to 60. If we get to 25 or 30 sales, it'll be down about 50% for that. Again, April and May, the sort of the heart of the spring market. Similar to other areas, number of new listings at 20 for the month, down 46%. So you'll see the monthly average sale price, a bit of a downward push. But again, remembering that 600, 700, 800,000 price bracket, the total volume has slowed down a little bit. And so with that, there's more of the lower priced houses trading, which is pulling down that average sale price. And then again, you can see here the total monthly sales looks like somebody crossing their legs, where you go from March at about 25, April at about 12, and then May so far, April at 13, May so far sitting at 3 or 4 sales. So similar to other areas, we will keep tracking that. We'll update that around May 17th, 18th to see what the second and third weeks of May bring. But that is Beamsville. Niagara Falls. So the second highest volume city in Niagara behind St.Catharines. So then once you get more volume, then you can get some more hard data, or you can put a bit more weight behind the data. So looking at April 2020, 51 sales, down again 60% year over year. April and May combined, on pace for about 120, 125 sales. Again, May is only 14 days old, but that's what it's sort of tracking towards, 125, 130 sales. Going back the last 5 years, those 2 months typically have around 300, 325 sales. Average sale price sitting at $463 for the month, up 3%. Year to date, the average sale price is up 7% over all of 2019. Number of new listings in line with other areas, 102 for the month of April, down 50%. And again, days in the market sitting at 4.5 weeks or so, basically a month to sell. Average sale price, again, a bit of a downward trend month over month. A lot of Niagara had highs here in February. It was a big month, so I wouldn't get too alarmed to see a decline from that, because again, that's like going out and shooting a 73 as a golfer who typically shoots 88. So again, this return down to in the 450s, 460 range isn't that alarming. Total monthly sales right in line with a lot of Niagara, whereas April was down. May, this is up to May 10th. So if you were to sort of forecast that out, let's say it's 20 per 1/3 of May, if that makes sense. So it's on track sort of to be in the 60 to 70 for the month of May, and that can change. We could see a big push towards the end of the month, but even that, it is on pace to beat the previous month. I expect, like a lot of cities, April will be the low point for sales volume. That is Niagara Falls. Let's talk about Thorold. April 2020, in line with a lot of places, the total number of sales down 63% to 17. What happened in Thorold, which was interesting, was the number of new listings was only down 10%. 60 new listings still hit the market. Whether that affected the average sale price at $402,000 being off by 10% is tough to say, as it's only 1 month, but still interesting. Take out this 1 month of 402, the average sale price year to date for Thorold is sitting at $490,000, which is pretty incredible. But for the year, it's at $477,000, going from January all the way through till right now. A lot of people talk about new builds and their effect on Thorold. If you took new builds out of those numbers, the average sale price for the year for 2020 drops from $477 to $466. So take new builds out, the average sale price in Thorold is still beating a lot of other areas of the region, sitting at $466. So here's the monthly average sale price. Again, April sitting at that lower number, but all 4 other months of 2020 so far have been really strong. Total number of sales, again, just like everywhere else, April down, but with May only being this far through and is already at 10, I would expect we'll see 25 to 30 sales for the month of May, which again would make April the low point for sales volume for 2020, hopefully. But that is Thorold. So basically April and May right now is on track for about 40 sales. Again, the heart of the spring market, typically 70 to 80 sales for those 2 months if you go back over the last 5 or 6 years. So May will call the shots on their spring market, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. That is Thorold. So Fonthill, another lower volume area of Niagara. Typically Fonthill, Pelham would have about 15 to 25 sales per month. And then in the heavier spring markets, you might have 30, 35, 40 sales. So with 12 in April, that's down 45%. Number of new listings of 20, down 67%. So good job. Everybody sort of pressed pause, which is cool. So as a result, the $704,000 average sale price being up 18%. You can put an asterisk beside that again because of lower volume. In terms of total number of sales, April, sitting at whatever that number was, 12 or 13. April and May combined is on pace to we would expect to see it roughly get to 25 or so. Typically for those 2 months combined, we would see 45 to 60 sales. So again, obviously slower than what we would normally see. Listings in April down 55%. May also on same pace. So that supply is being kept in check. But as we get through the month of May, we will see how things shake out. Average sale price, again, a little bit all over the place because of reduced volume. In general, you can have some outlier sales skew the numbers in either direction when you've only got 15, 20, 25, 30 sales. So as a result, you can see this sort of ski slope happening. January, the average sale price just a notch under 900 grand, down to March and bounced back up. So May, we shall see. But if we've only got 15 or 20 sales, that pink line can get back up over the gray or stay down there. We shall see. So again, Fonthill really is about your home, your neighborhood. because it is such a unique spot that it's hard to get too macro in your marketplace. So Welland's sort of a mid-range as far as total volume. On an annual basis, Welland will have 850, 950 sales, somewhere in that range. Year to date in April, we're at about 260, 270 sales. So this April 2020 report, it reads very similar to other areas of Niagara. The number of sales down 57%, number of new listings down 51%, average sale price at $395,000. So as far as the number of sales go, April and May combined is on pace for about 90 sales. So typical to other cities, May 10th is already at about half of April's sales numbers. So we would expect to see April and May on pace for about 90 sales in total. However, still you can see April and May last year sat around 200 sales, typically about 180 to 210 sales for April and May. So we will still be down by about 50%, but May is going to beat April. So again, April will be the low point. Monthly average sale price, it's been sitting around sort of the 390s to 410 range so far this year, and so we'll see what happens. But it's funny, in general, year over year, the average sale price in Welland almost like a clock. Every year has gone up about $30,000 for the last 6 years. So what shakes out with 2020 will be interesting to see, but the pricing so far is holding fairly strong. Again, a bit of a slower number or lower number in April, but again, lots of pushback to get back over that 400 mark here in May. So similar to other areas, we will see how May shakes out, but we expect this April to be the low point for the market. So again, similar to so many other areas of Niagara, the reduced volume can really impact things. So 19 sales for the month of April, that's down 60% from last year. April and May combined are on pace for about 40 sales, 45 sales. Typically though, going back about 5 years, April and May have totaled around 80 to 100 sales. So again, that sales volume sort of behaving like the rest of Niagara. Number of new listings for April down 56%, 32, which is again in line with the rest of the area. The average sale price monthly up 22% to 396. Again, with only 19 sales, that can get easily slung in either direction. Year to date, the average sale price in Port Colborne is sitting at $433,000, which is up 11.3% from all of 2019. So again, up just over 11%, which is pretty impressive. And then, so looking at this monthly average sale price, you'll see, again, with reduced sales volume, we go over here and you can see not a ton of sales. You do have some fluctuation month to month. So April sitting around 400, and then you can see May has popped up 100 grand. But with reduced sales, you'll see May so far is sitting at around 8 sales. But with April for the month sitting at 19, May is on pace to beat April, which would make it yet another Niagara city where April is the low point in sales volume. So we'll see as we get through May how that tracks out. But you can see the last two, April and May in 2019, sitting in the 45 to 48 range. So if you combine these two, we're still going to be down around 55% for those 2 months of the spring market. So that's Port Colborne. Here we are down at the south coast in Fort Erie. The Fort Erie led the way in the drop in sales in April, with 80% drop in April 2020 versus 2019, with only 14 sales. So as a result, the $380,000 average sale price being down 5% year over year, you can sort of toss that out with only 14 sales. In line with that, number of new listings down 62, 262, down 46%. So interestingly enough, May is showing some bounce back or some fight in the total sales volume. Is almost, I believe actually as of today, has already equaled April. So if May keeps going as on sort of the pace that it's set, you might see it up into the 30 range, which again, like so many other areas in Niagara, will make April the low point in sales. April and May combined typically we'll have about 120 to 140 sales. So the balance of May is really going to tell the story and where that shakes out, whether they get up to 45, 50, 55 sales, but still going to be down significantly. But with May's help, it's not going to be down, 80%. It might be down 55%, something in that range. Average sale price, the median, the middle sales volume for Fort Erie is all over the map. So in May, so far, the median sale price is $549,000. The average sale price is $549,000. The median is all over the map, so it's pulling the numbers in all kinds of different directions. So as a result, you can see here, so far year to date, you're sort of in the mid fours, high fours, high threes, and now mid fives. But again, because of this reduced volume, the average sale price really is tough to put a whole lot of weight into it. So an interesting spot to see. I think you might see a really contrasting month of April with the month of May. If it pushes back and makes this sort of V that it looks like it's on pace to do, this number, the average sale price, will become more relevant and more interesting to watch. But that is Fort Erie. So there you have it. That is the look at what's going on right now. In general, what we're expecting to see is that April will be the trough or the low point in total number of sales or sales volume. For Niagara in general, we're already seeing that almost guaranteed across most cities. It'll be how the larger volume cities, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and all those guys shake out. But I think that's what we're going to see. Average sale price will be a factor in that. But with new listings still being down as much as they are, we're expecting to see things hold fairly steady. The big change, the factor we're waiting to see is as new listings come on and the taps get opened back up, what happens to that supply and demand ratio. The other thing, asterisk, with all of this is it's not entirely fair to look at May as a recovery month or May is coming back more healthy, because May typically historically is a huge month, right? It's a big piece of the spring market. So looking at May 2020, where April's sales are here, May is going to show drastic or significant improvement. It's still going to get the crap kicked out of it by other Mays, because May is typically such a heavy volume month. So the month over month reports for May, I wouldn't get overly discouraged at. I think what's more important to look at right now are the trend lines from month to the following month as we go through, both in terms of sales volume, number of sales, new listings, days in the market, all that good stuff. So there's so much to pull apart. It's really fantasy camp for a data nerd like myself. But it's all we can do, right, is to keep track of things. And then on a particular house, then you have to really get micro on it. You can't look at the big picture to establish value on a specific home, because it doesn't always tell the picture, because all different areas of every city are behaving differently as well. So it's really a home by home basis, but the big picture does help give you some context on where to put things in. Hopefully this all made sense, and you have found it helpful. As you know, we are always here to help. You can message, DM, fax, send us a letter, whatever you want. We are here and ready to help and ready to have a chat. Okay, thank you so much, guys. We hope you're doing okay and your family's doing okay. And again, you can call us anytime. Okay, take care. Thanks. Bye.